I felt like I didn't have time for a morning routine. And what happened is I started to get really burnt out, and I
Yep.
started to get unnecessarily stressed out about different things. I wasn't
Yeah.
as good of a leader of my team. I wasn't as good of a husband to my wife. It was true. And I learned that just having some, what I would call like visionary time
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the day,
Yeah.
a time like a daily reset to
Yeah.
learn, where is it that you're headed? If you have that end goal in sight and you put that in your brain at the beginning of the day before you do anything else, it seems like the other stuff that comes up doesn't matter.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Looney Lewis, and today it's an honor. I have an amazing man coming on the show today, Brendan Bateman. He is the CEO of Bateman Collective, personally been involved in and managed projects totaling more than 100 million of digital marketing spending. Brendan has spent more than 10,000 hours perfecting the process of generating motivated seller leads online using PPC, Facebook ads, and SEO. He's successfully generated leads in more than 50 markets across the United States. So he is the guy, SEO, all things ads, leads generation, and we're gonna find out we're gonna learn some tips. So with no further ado, Brendan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Looney. Happy to be on here.
It's an honor. It's a privilege to have you on. So I know we're going to talk about marketing and ads and CEO, but before SEO, but before we do, let's talk a little bit about your journey here so far.
Yeah, of course. I'm more than happy to share anything you want to know. So I am, as you mentioned, I run a company that's in the digital marketing space. My journey to that was that I had in college a big interest in digital marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to learn, and I couldn't really find any good opportunities to learn other than just doing it myself. And that was kind of the beginning of this company. I started working with a few local companies doing work for extremely cheap or free, and
Mm-hmm.
also pretty bad work because I didn't know what I was doing. And then as we from there, it's just this story of growing that and building a team and finding a niche and basically finding a way that we could provide the highest value to clients.
Yeah. So you started off with brick and mortar and then taking them online.
So we never, I mean, we did work with brick and mortar businesses, but always online. So
Mm-hmm.
everything we do was digital marketing. But yeah, we started off at the beginning working with some e-commerce companies. We started working with some software companies,
Okay.
especially SaaS. And then at some point, we started getting into the real estate industry, and that's really where we found the best traction. So right now, we work with probably close to 100 different real estate investors in different parts of the United States and Canada and Australia, and that's our that's our specialized niche, and that's all
Yeah.
we do now.
Yeah. And so you've kind of started broad and then niche down eventually. Tell us about
Yes.
the importance of that because I'm pretty sure you saw that it was like a needle mover once you niche, right? Because then you can target that specific audience, you can serve them and kind of improve your craft to serve them even better. Tell us about the importance of niching down.
I hated this conversation several years ago, and the reason was everybody told me you have to niche down,
Yep.
and I thought, all we do at the time was pay per click, Facebook ads. I didn't really have any pain trying to do that for a variety of industries. I actually really liked that. I took pride in the ability to work on custom projects and stuff like that. And I hated that conversation. And the tough thing about it, the reason it was a barrier for me is I was thinking from a marginal perspective. So I was thinking if I niche down, then this person that comes to me tomorrow and asks, "Can you do my Facebook ads?" I have to say no to them. And I don't get a lot of leads in one place. I get leads from all over the place, right? Because I did
Mm-hmm.
a lot of networking, and ended up working with a lot of companies that were just based where I lived.
Yeah.
Not necessarily local companies, because we ended up doing mostly national advertising, but working with companies that were based there and just kind of networking with people locally and stuff. And I think that's where most agencies are. Um, and then we got pushed into it, to be honest with you. I was forced to niche, and that paid dividends for us. So I had little interest in the real estate industry. We had one client, just because we worked with a variety of clients. But it turns out that particular client, we 6x their revenue over a several year period while keeping their advertising spend exactly the same.
Mm.
It was a huge case study for them. And then further, I found out the person who owned that company also owned the largest coaching platform in this particular niche of real estate. And so one day they came to me and they said, "This has been absolutely amazing stuff that you're doing here. Can you do this for some of my students in other
Mm.
places?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, we'll do it." So then we started getting tons of referrals, and we had never had really that kind of sales engine running like that. And it was like the easiest thing in the world. These people would just call me up and say, "I heard you do really good work. How do I get started?" And all the projects were the same. And we started to
Mm-hmm.
get really, really good at fulfilling on these projects. And at some point, I looked at my business, and about half of our revenue was from this industry. Half of it was from a variety of industries. And I realized I was spending about 90% of our resources on the half that wasn't in real estate. And the real estate part was a more profitable business, and our clients were served on a higher level because we became really, really good at that. And that was about 2 years ago. And now we're at the point where we have maybe 3 or 4 clients outside of real estate, all clients that were with us before. And they're kind of grandfathered in, so to speak. But the real estate side has grown a ton, and we have scaled the business in such a way that never would have been possible in these other niches. So that's kind of my story. I think niching helps with the operational efficiencies. We've been able
Mm-hmm.
to accomplish more with a small team, which in today's climate, where recruiting is probably the biggest challenge, has been huge for us, because we could take on 5 real estate clients for every one client outside of real estate.
Right.
So if our problem is recruiting and training and everything, our company can grow 5 times larger in this particular niche than it could otherwise. And yeah, so it's operationally really efficient. And for us, the part that I didn't realize is that the sales is efficient. I had thought I get a lead from a variety of places. That's how my lead gen engine worked. So if you just only deal with the ones that are in a particular industry, you cut out 95% of your leads, and that feels really hard. But what I didn't realize is that when you get to focus on that industry and you focus on generating more leads in that industry, we've generated way, way more leads and way more business than we ever would have in a variety of industries. We just had to really focus on this one and figure out how is it going to work in here. And we've gotten to the point where 95% of our leads are in this industry, and it's the 5% that aren't.
Yeah. So you were forced into it, and it turned out to be a blessing, is what
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing. But also, what you're learning is it's cost effective. It minimizes your overhead spend almost, because then if you can tweak it to fit that audience, then it's almost like a automation, a system you have in place. You can rinse and
Yes.
repeat.
It is. It is very much. And of course, there's always stuff to customize in each place. But what we've done really good at is the way that I can think of it is, let's just say we have 80 clients that are going to have really similar digital marketing strategies. It's not like we just build it once and we paste it across them. It's that we build it once, but we spend 80 times as much time building it really, really well.
Yeah.
So for us, like the fact that we, like, in the day-to-day, I'm not thinking about what does this client need, what does that client need, because the goals are the same. And we have a lot of resources going towards how can we do this better on a
Yeah.
macro level. And because of that, we're accelerating at a rate that would have never been possible in terms of how much we're learning about this industry, and our products becoming very niche focused, and I think much better.
Yeah. And how long do you I can imagine it's long term, especially for SEO, right? So what's the lifeline that your clients are with you usually?
That's a good question. I mean, we're young enough that we don't fully know. If we're talking about how long are they with us usually, probably the best metric for that is our client retention rate, which was about 96% last quarter. Um, Varies, of course. So there's a like that tells us something, right? If we have 100
Mm-hmm.
clients at the start of the month, we expect to have 96 at the end of the month, and then additionally, whichever ones were sold. So maybe we sold 10 new ones, and we're going to be at 106.
That's impressive.
So yeah, it's actually a really good client retention rate, especially for this industry. I don't know how much you know about this industry, but real estate investors are a little bit flaky. They don't
Mm-hmm.
tend to want to stick with things for a long time. So it's actually really good in this industry. But that's kind of where we're at. So I mean, you could calculate it out. We're gonna have some clients that'll be with us literally forever. Some clients that freak out when they don't get what they wanted after 2 weeks. So it varies, of course, a ton.
So they must love you, right? So you're clearly doing
Hope so.
something right. So tell us about the Bateman Collective and what makes it unique.
Well, I think the thing that makes it unique the most is that we don't view ourselves as a digital marketing company. We view ourselves as a data company before anything else. And what that means is we believe that the number one challenge faced in this particular industry is data sparsity. Data sparsity implying that nobody has enough data to really say what's working and what's not. And implying if someone did have enough of that data, if someone could cleverly aggregate it, if they could build technology around predicting sparse outcomes, then they could create a much better marketing machine. And that's kind of what we're built on. So we, at this time, have the largest database that exists in this particular industry of what particular marketing actions lead to closed deals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that has huge value, and that's kind of our long-term play, is building that up.
Yeah, no, that's unique because those are high ticket items too. You think of real estate, you make a sale, you close a sale. It usually takes a couple of months to work that deal in, and once you do close it, it's it's high paying, and so I can
Mm-hmm.
see why that data would be useful to kind of be able to repeat it or put the right touch point to the
Mm-hmm.
clients, to the customers, because you gotta what, I think it's 12 to 15 times you have to touch them for them to make a decision.
No, absolutely. And the really tough thing about this particular like sub industry of real estate that we're in is our average client probably purchases 7 properties a month, something like that.
Mhm.
So you take that into account and you multiply it out. I mean, how many businesses do you know that survive on less than 100 customers every year versus the ones that have a lot more data points? So that's
Yeah.
where it's, there's just not very many data points to really tell you what's going on. So that's where so many companies get stuck in just what's going to get me the most leads, because you can see there's a
Mhm.
lot more leads than there are deals. But the thing is, not all leads are created equal. Some are more likely to lead to deals than others. So tracking that all and building a system that's better at that is, I think, really valuable, but something that you can't do unless you're doing this stuff nationwide for a ton of companies. So that's kind
Yeah.
of been our advantage.
Yeah. So for business owners, we have a lot of entrepreneurs listening who are getting
Mm-hmm.
started with online lead generation. What are some tips that you can provide, one to two, for in this space, because it can be daunting, but they need leads. They need to generate the leads. What are some advice?
That's a good question. Do you have any insight into what their businesses are? Maybe you have more one type of business than another.
Yeah, so let's tackle service based
Okay,
businesses.
service-based businesses. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we've done a good deal of that. I think it's, let's see, how would I start? Really hard to say without like thinking about a particular company. Um, I can tell you that you want to figure out what kind of platforms your audience is going to be on. And you want to build a way to reach them and a funnel that interests them. So to give you some example of things that we've done in similar situations, like for example, we run some ads for ourselves in the real estate industry. We learn everything about how they work. We found Facebook's a pretty good channel for reaching them. We run ads and we have the basic funnel, and we know what they really want to hear, to know that we're actually credible in this industry. And for us, it's really as simple as that. Another example of something we had done is like we had an accounting company that we worked with once, a CPA firm, and we targeted business owners. We showed them why they were wrong in what they were doing with their taxes, and showed them how they would do it right, and invited them to book strategy calls, and it worked fairly well. And the thing is, there's 100 things to do right here, but I think identifying where your audience is and starting is smart. Here's the misconception. I don't think that this kind of advertising is for everybody. And the reason is it's if you look at how much it costs to get a customer on various places, this type of marketing is going to be often more expensive than other places. But the advantage is it tends to be scalable, and it tends to have very low overhead associated with it. And you can add incremental profits. So you just really have to consider where you're at with your business. I don't think I would start with paid ads as a way to build my business, but it starts to make sense at some point. Like when you are looking to accomplish scale, you're willing to start paying a higher cost to acquire customers, to get those incremental customers. If you're looking for a way to invest marketing money into your business on a greater level, I think it's an excellent way.
We can definitely appreciate you being candid about that, because the customer acquisition can be pricey. And if you're just starting off as a small business, it can burn a hole through your wallet very quickly.
Yeah. And the thing that a lot of small businesses don't have often, and frankly, I don't think 90% of businesses get to this point, to be honest with you, is an offer that really resonates with their audience, and a sales process that really effectively turns those people into clients. And no amount of marketing is going to fix that. So that's specifically why I think, a lot of companies need to kind of find it. Like that stuff works for us right now. We could do that all day long and get a ton of real estate clients, because we have the offer that they care about. We have tons of credibility behind us. We know where to find them. When we run ads, most of the people are like, I already knew about you guys. I'm just, just the ad came up. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll fill out the form this time. Right. So it's a different game now than it was before. But yeah, if you don't have the offer figured out, then it's going to be really tough. So that's why I say a lot of smaller companies, the reason they're smaller is they haven't figured that out. At the point that you do figure that out, then now you can add a lot of fuel to that fire with paid advertising.
Like the example you gave, like we already knew about you guys. We're just gonna fill out this form. So you've moved them from cold audience to a warmer audience to even hot, right? Like they're ready to buy. What's that transition like? How do you go from cold to warm? Is that because we're talking about that offer? Because the whole sales funnel is monumental. It's not just running ads and then that's it. You gotta, like you said, have an offer, have a lead magnet to that resonate with them, that they want to continue to follow up. And then once you get them in an automation, there's a sequence you got to follow through, right? So it's huge. So how else, I guess I should ask, you go from cold audience to warm audience?
I mean, that's the hardest part, right? And that's where, like, if you're looking at a place to start with ads, it's usually warm to hot because that's easier, right? Retargeting, high intent search traffic on Google, that kind of stuff. But yeah, cold to warm, I mean, it really just depends on who your person is, and how you get them there. It's varies a ton by industry. Like for example, where we work in the real estate industry, it is actually a really linear path to conversion typically, because the first time people see the ads, usually they'll fill out the form, if they're going to. If you look at us, it's a little different. Like we do, for example, a lot of like podcast marketing and stuff like that in our particular industry, where like most people we run into, they've just heard us on there and heard us there, and they know this person who works with us and that kind of stuff, and that kind of builds a reputation, helps you make it from there. Probably the hardest thing to do, but what some people have mastered, is cold to warm without those advantages, right? Like cold calling, for example, that's hard. People make it work for their businesses, but it's really hard. And of course, with ads to cold audiences, you can definitely do that. But you have to understand what's going to resonate with them. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And it's going to be costly. Just like cold calling is difficult, you get hung up on or don't get picked up. Cold calling or cold ads can be pricey, but it's a process though. It's all part of the process, I would say, right? Because you got to go from there to here, and so you got to nurture the audience. Tell us a little bit about
Absolutely.
the importance of nurturing your current audience to get them to that close.
Yeah, I mean that's the first place you want to focus on marketing. It's the low-hanging fruit, right? Like really common tactics are like, for example, email marketing, keeping your list warm, keeping it in front of people really makes a difference. Retargeting is probably one of the, like if we're talking about if someone just wants to dabble in digital marketing, what should they do? I could tell you, if you have website traffic, what I would do is set up a retargeting campaign on Facebook. It's not that hard. It's extremely cheap. Like at this moment, just because we're just flooded with leads from a lot of places, that's all we run. We run $1 a day on Facebook. It sounds extremely small, but the thing is, it's enough to reach the entire audience that visits our website, because that's a small number of people. And it's it builds credibility, it keeps you in front of them, that kind of stuff. I think it really depends on the industry, of course, but there's in a lot of industries, there's a long time between when someone finds out about you and when they'll actually work with you. And you have to keep the relationship warm through that whole process, be that through emails, be that through ads.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a journey, especially when it comes to like SEO. You got to be in it for the long haul. So I want to talk to you more about you as an entrepreneur. Like you've established this wonderful business, and I've seen tremendous growth over the last like 2 years after you niche down. So how is it that you are able to sustain you as a person? How to be a successful CEO, successful founder? Like how do you get up, dress up, and show up? Tell us about your morning routine.
Good question. I was really, really bad at this for a long time. I'm a little bit better now, but considering this is like your thing, I feel completely unqualified to really be sharing what I do here, because I'm not the best. But for a long time, my morning routine was saying, I have so many calls that people want to put on my calendar. Some context, like at the time I was doing between 15 and 20 Zoom calls every day. With clients, sales, all that kind of stuff. Like my calendar would just get booked up. And because there was no more space, I would just expand those margins on it. Got to the point where it's like 8 a.m. to like 9 p.m. It's just open for calls. And it would be back to back to back during that entire time period. And I felt like I didn't have time for a morning routine. And what happened is I started to get really burnt out, and I started to get unnecessarily stressed out about different things. I wasn't as good of a leader of my team. I wasn't as good of a husband to my wife. All that stuff was true. And I learned that just having some, what I would call like visionary time at the beginning of the day, that time, like a daily reset to learn, where is it that you're headed? If you have that end goal in sight and you put that in your brain at the beginning of the day before you do anything else, it seems like the other stuff that comes up doesn't matter, because everything's in the context of that vision. So how I've changed that is I will make sure to have an hour of personal time in the day. That's where I would be establishing that vision. This is before I look at my phone, before I can check my email, any of that stuff. I read books about the things that I'm wanting to get better at, all that kind of stuff. in that time period. And then after that, I have 1 hour in which I do whatever my most important task for the day is. And for me, that's really important because I spend my entire life on Zoom. And it's so hard for me to get anything done because I finish up my Zoom calls at 7 p.m. and
You're
I have
pooped.
like all the takeaways from that. And then it's just like, it's so hard to like move forward
Yeah.
outside of that stuff. So because of that, I give myself 1 hour for like, this is like my productive time as a business owner. How am I going to improve the business? What's the absolute most important thing that I could do today? And I start there. And then what happens is at the end of those 2 hours, I have my vision set and I feel like I accomplished something and I have that good traction already for the day. And then I find that I'm a lot happier during the day.
Yeah, you are very well qualified because you just
Thank
showed
you.
us what would happen if you don't set out that hour, that 2 hour in the morning. Burnt out, not available to your team members, not available to your family. Just you're not, if you're not well, then you can't show up for your business.
Yeah, it's true. And I think it's a good investment. And, you know, sometimes all the meetings don't fit on my calendar, but it's, I do better with the ones that do if
Hmm.
if I have that morning routine. So anyways,
That's a
that's
good
been a
one.
huge help for me.
It's a good one because it gives you more energy, more stamina so that you can go longer and harder and still be attentive for all your 15, 20 calls that you have to do. Otherwise, you would be burnt out after each one and unable to show up for the next as you would
Hmm.
like to. And so, what time are you getting up? So, to give yourself that extra 2 hour, because I can imagine your calls start, 6, 8 a.m., you're probably hitting the floor running.
Yeah, I mean, I would block off some time. So I'm not a super early riser. I wake up at about 7
Hmm.
every day. And then I would, starting at around 8,
Hmm.
um, yeah, it's 8. I would do that first hour. At 9 o'clock, I
Yeah.
have a 15-minute meeting with my team, daily huddle. I'm not sure if you've
Yeah.
heard of companies doing something similar.
Hmm.
And then from 9:15 to 10:15, I would do that productive hour. And then I have calls starting at 10:15. So
Yeah.
I used to be like just barely getting ready in time to show up to my first call and always pretty much stressed because I didn't even know what I had for the day. Now I just have like some time to like, I almost sleep better knowing that right when I wake up, it's not just going to be like running as fast as I can. I just know I'm going to have some time to relax and set my mind straight in the morning. And oh, I know what I was missing in there. I there's like I have like 30 minutes to prep for the meetings during the day in the morning. So,
Okay.
anyways, that all together helps me sleep better at night, and
Yeah.
I do get to my meetings a little bit later, but it's I think it's a good investment.
Yeah, it primes you. It primes you for the day, and that's the power of the morning routine. And we can't talk about it enough because if you don't do it, there are consequences. If you do it, there
Yeah,
are benefits that actually helps propel you as a business owner and propel your business. Because Jim Rohn says your business is going to thrive, grow as much as you do. So the more you grow, the more
it's
your
true.
business will grow, right? So that's why the morning routine, that 1 hour kind of devoted to you growing, you consuming, reading books, learning about your craft, improving it. You get better, your business get better because you can implement easier.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's so hard to say tomorrow I have so much to do. That's going to be a good use of time, but it's yeah, it makes a big difference. So,
It
anyways,
it does,
that's
yeah, it does.
yeah.
So tell us, how can we connect with you? How can we find you? Your niche is real estate. Where can our listeners find you?
So you can always reach out by email. My email is brandon@batemancollective.com. If you want to talk to us for any reason or another. Um, and yeah, I'm open book. I'm always happy to discuss with anyone kind of what we do. Um, if there are any real estate investors listening here, that's our niche. That's what we do. So I encourage you to reach out. But anyways, thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.